found out about what you need to know if you want to work with China, but we still have to answer a very, very important question. And for that, I'd like to invite on stage Andra Zaharia, Marketing and Communication Specialist at Heimdal Security and a proud supporter of How to Web, I would say. So Andra, you will be moderating the discussion. Tell us who are the panelists.
I think it turned on. Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thank you for sticking until almost the very end. I promise to make this as interesting as possible for you. And I have three very cool guests joining me to make this discussion interesting, as I promised. So I'd like to welcome Vlad Andriescu from start-up.ro. I see someone needs some sugar. I'd like to also welcome Ivan Brezak from Netokracija. I got it right? Almost. And I'd also like to invite Vitalina Radkevitch-Turlo from Goal Europe. Perfect. So I have here a long list of questions. Oh, I'm not very good with paper, so I want to go through as many as possible. So if you could please just speak really fast, that would be great. Okay, so we know that startups have in general trouble with marketing unless they have someone in the founding team that is in charge of this. So there are many aspects to cover, many challenges to overcome as well. So let's start with the basics. What kind of research do you think startups should do when it comes to drawing media attention? Who would like to start?
Well, honestly, as far as I'm always surprised with how many startups don't do their homework at all. They just like send an email, expect to be covered. And the truth is honestly that in most cases there's far more interesting news than a startup. And like most startups are not at all interesting, like launching a new version, launching an app, whatever. No one cares. Like even tech press, like yes, we care to a point, but there's always a more interesting startup, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, the best research that a startup can do is actually just read what, not even the magazine, but the reporter wrote beforehand. So if they wrote about hardware, okay, you can write about hardware. If they never written about a hardware, startups like don't care. It happened to me that once I was how do Americans say, poo-pooing a certain category of startups, and then a startup in that category like emailed me, oh, we're doing this, and I'm like, really? I published that piece the day before. So just like the best research is reading up on the journalist you're sending something to. It's not, you're not sending to a magazine, you're sending to a person. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree that you need to do your homework. And first of all, if you have a specific theme of your app or your startup, of course, you would rather contact those who cover it. And for instance, personally, yeah, I'm as a media here, but I also do some consulting for startups. And I had to promote an app for rappers, for French rappers. So, of course, I wouldn't contact every possible media outlet, not having budget for that, and it's not worth it. But even contacting rap-specific websites, you know, it doesn't pay from the first contact. So you really want to be, you want to send different messages, and if the first time they don't get you, because you wrote like 3 passages instead of 1, just make sure you contact again and say it in other words, or just to touch someone who is reading your email.
And follow up many times.
Yeah, just don't hesitate to follow up, because even a smaller media outlet get a lot of emails and requests for coverage, and you need to touch the person. And for instance, another advice, if we are short on time, and I really like to get very practical. So there are basically 2 things you can do to reach the journalist. First of all, read what he wrote before, but not only the topics he covered, but also the style he writes, like, because usually we all have our own structure, how we cover startups. And if you send me just a press release you send to pr.com, sorry, not interested, because it's too much work for me to do to write a piece that I would like to publish on my blog. So the closer you are to my style, the more likely I will be covering you. Also, another thing is that we all want interesting content. And the interesting content, I mean, it's not only that you are new on the market, but also the larger outlook on the industry you are working on. So if you, from the very start, you provide me with statistics like, look, the e-commerce market is booming at this and this rate, and we are doing this and that to capitalize on this trend, so you get more chances to get covered. And another approach, I had a startup approaching me to cover, but really didn't think it was an interesting idea. Before I got to, it's a personal concierge service startup, kind of traveling startup, not Airbnb style, but basically if I come to a country, I want someone to
Do everything for you.
to do everything for me, like to go to a hospital if something happens, to help me with a bank, or even to pick me up from the airport. I thought it was a okay idea, but hardly scalable without lots of money pouring into the marketing to make it Airbnb style and scale. But then my mom had to go from Barcelona to a very remote town in Spain while traveling, and she's not driving, and commuting on public transportation wasn't very convenient. She was with a baby as well. So I thought, wow, it would be good if this startup was already up and running and had many offers in Spain. That's how I actually covered them a few months later. But if they came up with this kind of user case while contacting me for the first time, they would get the coverage earlier.
Yeah, so make it as easy as possible. Vlad?
I think research doesn't start when you launch a startup. I mean, if you know you have an idea and you want to build it, and you are 6 months from launching, start doing your homework regarding everything, and also the press. I mean, read the blogs, read the tech press. Try to contact people beforehand. I mean, try to contact me like, okay, we're 6 months from launching. What do you think about this idea? Do not tell me, do you want to publish this? But just a conversation. I mean, it's time consuming also for me, but
Yeah,
it's worth it.
And also, I think it's time consuming in general PR approaches. I know from my own experience, and you just have to do the work. There is no way around it. You can't do mailing lists and end up in the spam folder and so on. And related to what you said, I think that it's really important to talk to the journalist, know that you're reading his work, maybe offer even some feedback, because that's always welcome. So there are multiple ways of doing that. Not just
Basically suck up to the journalist, right?
Yes, but you can do it nicely and productively. Another thing I wanted to touch upon, because I don't think this is used enough. So most startups tend to just go for the big names in the beginning. Oh, I'm going to write to TechCrunch. TechCrunch is not going to care. So what about reaching out to local media and regional media? And of course, that always starts with a good research. But how do you see this happening? Do you see startups that are trying to reach you more and more often in comparison to the last years? What do you think?
Well, as far as Netokracija goes, we are big. Come on. No,
Of course
but
you are.
honestly, the thing is, like, it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Like, TechCrunch and Mashable is fine if you're trying to get investors in the Valley, because that's it. Who reads TechCrunch the Valley? That's freaking it. No one cares about the 99% of everyone else who's outside of the Valley. Like that 1%, that's the freaking key component, and that's fine. But yeah, I think that honestly, most startups underestimate, or let's say don't really do the right thing with local media. So local media can help in a lot of ways. One way is especially good for employer branding and hiring. So if you want to get the best engineers, if you want to get the best designers, developers, whatever, it's key to be in the press. We actually have a jobs platform, and it's always funny when when a startup like contacts us and it's like, oh yeah, we want to post a job. Okay, cool, but we're not sure if it's going to be effective. And I'm just like, it's not. How do you mean? Like, aren't you like sure in your product? Yeah, I'm sure in the product. I'm sure that people will like see your ad, but no one gives a fuck about you because they have never seen you. We've never written about you. You've never tweeted anything important, and who the frick cares? So no, but that's the truth. It's like you have to have local press coverage. You have to tweet. You have to engage with the community in order for people to know you. And then when they know you, they'll freaking like either help you get investors, or I think it's being engaged with local media is important because it helps you being engaged in the community, which helps with hiring, finding investors, etc. And also keep in mind that again, journalists talk to each other. We're all connected. So, for example, I had a startup today in the mentoring sessions, and I'm going to connect them with the European editor of Mashable. I can connect people to TechCrunch. Basically, we know each other. We can help go higher. And also one thing that I think startups forget, and most like PR professionals also do, you do not know what's important. You do not know the story. You do not know what's the catch. Like the journalist is the best person that can see like, okay, interesting, but this is more interesting. And that will help you get to Mashable or TechCrunch or whatever. Like get a journalist can be the best consultant for a startup in PR that they can get, like free consultation. Come on.
And I once saw a guy from TechCrunch reading his emails. You don't want to see this. I mean, it's just a never-ending delete thing. Yeah. So go basically scale it. Go to the local press, but understand the local press, because if you go to a niche website like ours, maybe it's different. If you go to a newspaper, the style will be different, and maybe your message will be written different than you ever thought. So it's again about the research. Try to think about the guys who know your business.
Yeah, just you wouldn't. I'm sure you don't know how many like $1 million startups there are in Croatia. Why? Because like the daily is always right. Like this startup will earn $1 million, and they're two people, right? That's the mainstream press. Jesus.
And you don't want to ever be the Steve Jobs of every freaking country in the East. Yeah.
Yeah, but also bear in mind that investors, and if you're looking for investors in the future, they're usually smart enough to read regional press because they want to be the first to discover interesting companies, interesting teams. And so this is another reason why it's important to be approaching regional media and not TechCrunch only. And also, as guys just said, TechCrunch, if they see a great story on the regional media, they pick it up, and your job is to help the journalist to make a great story about yourself. So just don't think about it like a link leading to your website. Just think about it as a story, and never copy it and send them to other journalists.
Ivan already covered some of what I think are some of the goals that are related to media outreach. No, that's very good actually, but I think there's more to that. So usually startups think that, oh, I'm gonna get a link from, let's say, TechCrunch, since we picked this one, and what's gonna happen? Do you think that users will just flock in herds to your app and sign up and give you all their money? Following the principle, shut up and take my money. That's not going to happen. So what are some more realistic goals that getting in the media can help you achieve besides link building?
Well, there are a lot of benefits, of course. Link building can be one, informing investors if it's TechCrunch in the Valley, informing potential employees if it's local media. Like you can do various things, but I think like you have to think of it as it's not a one-hit wonder. The idea is not, or you're in the press, success. The idea is to be in the press constantly, like, and that's one thing that we can get back to the whole like pitching media. The thing is that you don't know what, again, the story is, what's interesting. Like for Netokracija, if I don't know, you say that you're working with local government, I'll just laugh and wonder like, why are you doing that to yourself, right? On the other hand, some like other magazine won't care if you're like open source, like open. So like the point of the story can vary between media outlets. And that's why it's important for you always to be in contact with journalists. Like you don't need to do a press release. You just need to like talk to us. Okay, so Ivan, we're doing this. Is this interesting? And I might say, okay, it's not interesting for us, but I know this guy that's like writing about I'll connect you to him, right? So it's the same story with, you know that how they tell you with investors, like if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. With journalists, it's pretty much the same. It's like, what do you think about this? Oh, that's freaking cool. We want to write about it. I want exclusive, right? So a good approach would be that. As far as other benefits, I think like in long term, populating results, like your Google results with positive stories, that works well for customers. And also you can always work with the media that knows on lead generation. So you can always like ask, okay, you can publish a story, but can you like add this like little form at the end so we get a little customers or something? There's various ways to use like each story to get other customers or like investors or whatever. Lead generation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, another thing that I'd like, it's also advice related. Try being active in your local ecosystem. Why is it so important? If we ask for if we ask for comments and we cite you, we write your name, like this and that from this company, even if in this particular article we don't cover your company, you get more chances to be covered by others or by us the next time. And I also have a recent story which appeared just like that. It's a Ukrainian startup which is called a Ukrainian product called Sticker Pipe. They do a marketplace for stickers. How I contacted the founder just to get comments on the situation in Ukraine, because I saw on the regional press that the company moved from Ukraine to Poland due to recent events. I wanted comments on that. And then just by talking to each other, we found out that he had this startup and I didn't know about it and I didn't want to. So the story appeared in the end. So if you are active, if you are active in the community, you get more chances to get covered.
And one thing, another thing about being active, it's not just about us writing about you. You can help us and write an opinion piece, be active on social media, do something relevant. I mean, it's not just about your product. You launched 2 months ago. I suppose there are not many changes, 10,000 users or 100,000, I don't know. But write something about your expertise and maybe we can publish that thing even if we maybe weren't interested about the startup.
Yeah, like consolidate yourself as a key opinion leader. And for example, Buffer got a lot of their first users by doing guest posts on a lot of, Intercom as well. One question, I know we ran out of time, but one thing I wanted to ask for 3, but one thing that startups can do today to make their media outreach better.
Well, I think I pretty much shared everything I wanted for today. So
shorter emails and more personalized emails. Never use the same email for everyone.
I mean, I don't want to sound very pompous, but writing an email, writing an email to a journalist is not that different than writing an email to a possible investor. I mean, we do not have money, but it's the same thing. I mean, our attention is the same.
Limited.
I think like the best thing you can do is meet these guys. You don't have to meet me, and like email journalists that you are planning on contacting in the future, and just say like, look, I was at this panel about media. They told me like I should talk to journalists. Hello, here I am, and we're going to be doing this. It's all about building a relationship. So even if you write the shittiest emails, if I don't know, your product is shit, but if I like you, I'll give you like 5 minutes and you might end up on Netokracija or whatever. It's about relationships. So start building them today and it'll be easier.
Yeah, that about sums it up. I think we can we take questions? Do we still have time? One, maybe. Anyone?
Oh, go on. I'm going to hit someone if no one asks a question.
I have many more, but so I guess we should wrap up. And I want to say a big thank you for coming here. I wish this was longer. Maybe we can do this again next year. Okay, so thank you, everyone.
Epica room for the closing speech and for all the details. Thank you very much for joining us, for helping us building this tech community, and for joining How to Web Conference Startup Spotlight. Thank you very much.